Okay, so now I moved around a little bit. I'm in a different location, but at least I can see what's going on. There may be some noises you'll hear, buses, cars like that, because I'm right at the front of the school at this point. You can see there are people parking back there, so you may see people walking up. I'm just going to ignore them, and then we'll see what happens. So we already talked about the importance of people being able to know who they're going to entrust their political authority to. So the next thing that needs to happen in order to ensure that the people stay in charge, that the people are truly sovereign, that the people are really in charge of a democratic system, is there needs to be political equality for all citizens. Political equality for all citizens. So let me give you two examples of what I'm talking about. First, it needs to be the case that when people vote, we follow the rule of one person, one vote. And everybody gets one vote, and everybody's vote means the same thing. And the truth is that in our political system, that's pretty much exactly the way it works. If we're voting for somebody, for let's say senator, and let's say I lived in the same state as President Obama, and he voted for somebody and I voted against somebody, both our votes would be exactly the same. He's the President of the United States. It wouldn't make any difference. His vote is worth one count. My vote is worth one count as well. So in terms of the sort of one person, one vote ideal, we do extremely well. When it comes to the issue of everybody being equal before the law, I would suggest to you that we have some more work that needs to be done in our political system. For example, I'm your, average political science professor at a good college. If I were to get arrested for something, right, whatever it happens to be, and I've never been arrested, by the way, let me just make that clear. So if I were to be arrested for something, I'd just pick something, bank robbery, whatever. And somebody else, somebody who's low income, somebody who is an African-American male, let's say, gets arrested. Low income, African-American male gets arrested for something, and I get arrested for something. Who do you think's more likely to go to jail? Because I would suggest to you that in our legal system, the way it's set up, the African-American male is probably more likely to go to jail than I am. And I think statistics prove that out to be the case. He would have to rely on a public attorney, a public defender, to go ahead and defend him because he couldn't afford an attorney. I would be able to pay for an attorney. And so we would not be equally represented. I'm not saying all public defenders are bad, but they are overworked. It is very difficult, and so the quality of representation wouldn't be as good. And so we wouldn't truly be equal before the law. Even if the facts of the case were exactly the same, we wouldn't be equal before the law. And if I got arrested for something, and Bill Gates got arrested for something, who do you think's more likely to go to jail? Me or Bill Gates? I'm thinking Bill Gates is less likely to go to jail than me. He's going to buy the courthouse. He's going to buy the judge, whatever. He's going to have 1,200 lawyers who are going to be in that courtroom, the best lawyers around. He's going to be able to defend himself much better than I'm going to be able to. So under the same circumstances, I'm more likely than the young African-American male to go to jail. Bill Gates is less likely than me to go to jail. It winds up being that in our political system, it's not the case that everybody is equal before the law. And that's probably an area where I think that there needs to be improvement. But again, that's just my opinion. You need to go ahead and make these judgments and these determinations on your own. Don't just take my word for it. But at some point, if you want to send me an email and talk about that, that's totally fine. And I'll be happy to engage with you and let you know what I know about the research done in this area. But political equality for all citizens is important in order to ensure that a democracy stays robust and strong. Then the next thing on the list, if you look number C, and I'm going to scroll down on my computer a little, is that it needs to be that there's political liberty for all people. Political liberty for all people. And I have to get the camera back up, so I apologize. I can't see the mouse. Damn it, I'm going to have to do this whole thing over because I can't tell where the camera is. There's the camera. Not exactly a great performance here, but there you go. Next thing that needs, and I could redo this, you know what, but I screw up in the classroom all the time. I mean, I just do. The computer doesn't work, it freezes up on me, all kinds of things happen that I don't plan for. And so this is supposed to be as close to a classroom experience as possible. It's just happening in front of a parking lot. So hopefully you don't mind. Actually, doesn't matter. I'm sticking with it. The next thing that needs to happen to ensure that the people stay in charge in a democracy is that there needs to be political liberty for all citizens. And what I mean by that is citizens need to be able to participate in processes that go ahead and reflect their preferences, that communicate their preferences to our political leaders. If we can't go ahead and express our preferences, if we can't tell them what it is we want, then there's going to be a real problem. It's going to be hard for us to stay in charge if they don't know what they want, what we want. Good, we almost caught an accident in the background. In any case, one way that we express our preferences is the right to vote. The government shouldn't do anything to go ahead and limit our access to voting, to prevent us from voting. Right? That's really important. That's probably one of the main ways that citizens go ahead and articulate their preferences, express their preferences, what they want, is by who we vote for, which party we vote for, what things we vote for. That's the main way that we do that. But also, the government shouldn't interfere with our freedom of speech. That people should be able to criticize the government, especially. Like, all speech should be, most speech should be protected, but in particular, if we're critical of the government should not try and limit that. If we're saying something bad or dangerous, or if we're causing people to do something illegal, that's one thing. But when we're just saying we dislike what the current government is doing, if we're gonna, in order for us to stay in charge as citizens, we need to be able to do that. We need to be able to criticize the government. And then lastly, we need to have what's called freedom of association, meaning we need to be able to join in groups without the government interfering with us. If you want to join a political party, right, the government shouldn't interfere with that. Suppose you're somebody who's particularly interested in gun safety and gun rights. You might want to, you may say, you know what, I want to go join the National Rifle Association. Suppose you're somebody who's interested in the environment. You may say, I want to go ahead and join the Sierra Club. The government shouldn't interfere in your ability to go ahead and do that. If the government's not interfering, then what that means is you have political liberty. And this is another one of those areas in which I think that our government is particularly good. The right to vote is for the most part protected. There have been some controversies recently about the right to vote, but for the most part, people have the right to vote, and the government doesn't try and prevent it. People do have freedom of speech. You can say just about anything, and the government can't touch you. As a matter of fact, we'll talk later on about it later on when we talk about civil liberties, that the things that you can say that actually can cause you to get arrested are very, very small. People say some crazy stuff all the time. Go on the internet. People say crazy stuff all the time, and they don't get arrested. That's good, in my opinion. That's good, because I want to err on the side of letting everybody speak. Right? If somebody wants to say something crazy, go ahead. Because most of the time what's going to happen is other people are going to look at him, look at this person and go, oh, he's crazy. Okay? So, freedom of speech. Freedom of association. We do pretty much have the right to go ahead and join whatever groups we want to join. The government doesn't really try and stop that. So on this political liberty for all citizens, I think we do extraordinarily well. Now, one last comment on here. Directly across from me, there's a man just sitting on the grassy knoll on the other side. And he's got to be wondering, what the hell is this guy doing talking to his computer? I just thought I'd share it. I could turn it around and show you him, but I think that would be too weird. And I wouldn't want to agitate him because I don't know if I necessarily want to be in the same association with him. Okay, but that's it for this. Next, we're going to move on to an entirely different topic where we compare political and economic systems. But I may decide to move somewhere else because that guy's kind of creeping me out.